morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. As you can see, I've got Tim Draper with me, as the announcer said, legendary investor. Tim, before we get into what turns you on as far as investments is concerned, what makes you tick and what you've been doing, I've also been reading that you can survive on 3 hours sleep and you go to hundreds of these events throughout the year. How was your journey?
Oh, these legends. I try to push these legends wherever I can. Oh, I've been all over the world, and it's been really extraordinary. We're doing, with Meet the Drapers, which is showing on Thursday morning, we're doing it here. We have done the Olympics. We're doing the Olympics of startups, and so I've visited many, many countries. And I've been traveling around the world visiting these countries, and it's been wonderful. One thing I've got to mention is I went to the LEAP conference 5 years ago, and it might have filled that many seats.
Yeah.
And all this, I think they said there were 1,500 people or something. There are 250,000 people at this conference.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia has seen the startup light, and great things are happening. I'm so thrilled to be here.
No, it was extraordinary yesterday. We were getting emails saying the venue is at capacity. We'd had an announcement in the morning saying almost 250,000 people had registered. So that was a real sign of the enthusiasm and excitement about this event and startups. And obviously you've mentioned Meet the Drapers. This is your own TV series where you are going around, in a way, auditioning people's ideas and then crowdfunding or crowdsourcing to get that investment. Where did the idea for that come? And are there certain regions or areas that you think are more open to that sort of thing?
Well, it's interesting. About 15 years before Shark Tank came out, I was in LA, in Hollywood, trying to promote the idea. And nothing happened. Then Shark Tank showed up. And because I love what I do. I love being a venture capitalist, and I like the idea that other people can see what I do. Interview these entrepreneurs that are showing me what the future is going to look like. It's fantastic. So I always kept an eye on it, and when crowdfunding came out, I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. The viewer can invest, and but I don't think the SEC had anticipated the idea that somebody would do media and crowdfunding together. And so we have since just made it crowdsourcing. And so everybody can vote, everybody can play an investment game, and eventually we hope to get crowdfunding back. But the show has taken off, and it's been so much fun. And I do it generally with my sister and my father, and it's Meet the Drapers, but we always have great guest judges. We're going to have Sultan. We're going to have some interesting guest judges here. In India, we had Sri Ravi Shankar, the guru, and the show is just so much fun, and we think we're actually maybe transforming the venture business because we see so much deal flow from that.
And obviously, it's not just the show, it's everything. You're a third-generation venture capitalist. You've been sniffing out entrepreneurs and good ideas for most of your career. What is it that you think now is the essence of when you find it, or who it is, or what it is?
Yeah, I do sniff them out in one way. I try to be a magnet for entrepreneurs wherever they may be, whether they're in Saudi or Sri Lanka or Tokyo, wherever. And we want any entrepreneur out there who wants to start a business, we want them to start by thinking Draper first. What do I look for in an entrepreneur? It tends to be that I look for something that is a new surprise for me, because I mostly do the very earliest stages. And so I'm looking for something that surprises me. And then what happens is I'll fund the first one, and then we'll see 30 or 40 Me Too's. And sometimes it's one of those that ends up being the big winner. When we meet the entrepreneur, I always ask questions like, why are you doing this? Because most people will be put on their heels by that, and they'll be saying, well, because George thought I should, or, you know, I want to make money, or I want to make you money. But the great entrepreneurs, when they hear that question, they lean forward in their seat and they say, because I worked with this company before and they didn't get it and they didn't understand, and now I'm going to show the entire world how awesome this can be. And then the absolute best ones are the ones who say, I want to delight my customer. So at the end of all that, they say, I want to figure out how to delight my customer.
So you're looking for something messianic. You're looking for that sort of almost swivel-eyed determination.
Absolutely, and that's why we had a guru on the show. We thought, well, you know, he has a messiah quality. But yes, I think the best entrepreneurs are going to do it no matter what, and they're going to suffer the consequences, which often are horrible, and sometimes reap the rewards, which often are so extraordinary that they sort of change lives in so many ways. And generally for the better, but sometimes it's really very awkward.
Now, obviously, some people wear their heart on their sleeve, but you're wearing one of your passions on your tie today.
I am. I have both the Draper Associates logo and the Bitcoin logo here. It also says #DGov, which is decentralized government. I think everything's going to be decentralized in another 10 years, and I think it's all because Satoshi Nakamoto came up with this Bitcoin, which is a decentralized currency. And that currency, I think, can move humanity to a new anthropological level. I think it can move humanity up, and we'll become a richer society around the world because money can move faster, we can trust money more, and it keeps perfect records, and it's global.
You're obviously a true believer, and I get the idea that trust in financial institutions and banks was very, very low when you started investing, which is more than 10 years ago, so you're a proper early adopter. I get that. The secrecy side of things, where we are now, a lot of people saying, well, actually, most of the adopters of these are not the good guys. They're the bad guys. The ransomware incidences, the blackmailing instances, the cybercrime are all, many would see them intrinsically linked.
So it turns out that the blockchain keeps perfect records. If you want to be a criminal, you should use cash, because no one can trace that. But the U.S. Marshal's Office has basically said they kind of like Bitcoin because they can catch every criminal. And it's because they can watch the movement of the money. And they just follow the money and they catch them. So I don't recommend for people, I mean, it's sort of a short-term gain and then long-term you're in jail. So that part is a misconception by a lot of the people. You talked about trust. And I have come to the conclusion, I've been able to travel all over the world. I've visited 78 or 80 countries. I've done business in maybe 60 of them. And I've come to the conclusion that there are really two things that really matter for a government. And one is trust, and one is freedom. And I said that to the guru, and he said, trust, freedom. You can't have freedom without trust. You can't have trust without freedom. And then I came to the conclusion that President Xi, President Putin are weak leaders. And people say, weak leaders? What are you talking about? And I say, well, they don't trust their people and they don't set them free. They try to control them. So you have weak leaders who try to control everything, and then you have strong leaders who trust people and set them free. I have been thrilled at what has happened in Saudi Arabia because these leaders have trusted their people and set them free and attracted other people to their country. And I know it's happened all over this region, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. A lot of places have have started to really trust their people and set them free, and I think it makes all the difference. It's the difference between being in North Korea, where they don't trust you to do anything, and South Korea, where they trust you to do everything.
And Tim, is that where your innovation index comes from? Because
yes, you have done your research.
Well, I was really interested because I think you've been ranking countries on how you perceive how free they are or how free businesses are to make money and so on.
But it turns out it's not my perception, although I do advise, it's data. Those rankings are totally driven by data. I put in some of the data elements and recommend them to the data group. It's an independent data group, and they come up with that ranking. And it's interesting how dynamic it is. I think countries are recognizing that they're accountable, or they're in competition with each other for the people, the entrepreneurs, the money, the jobs of the world. And so they need to improve. And having a ranking like that encourages countries to improve.
Because just thinking, I mean, obviously you've got your Switzerlands and your Singapores and the States are high on your index, but then you've also
But your country, the UK, just moved up to number 2.
Now, is that because of Brexit or despite Brexit? I think we might have to leave the Brexit conversation for another time, but I'm interested in places like at the other end, like El Salvador, Central African Republic, which have introduced some forms of cryptocurrencies, but haven't been seen to be successful in that. Is that because it's too early to judge, or is it, you mentioned Putin and Russia, some people are saying that actually there were bad agents encouraging places like the CAR to get into crypto because the Wagner Group were involved. There have been lots of complications on these issues.
So I look at it this way, and I say that with a leader or a politician or a bureaucrat that says, I don't want Bitcoin here, you've got to ask them why, because Bitcoin keeps perfect records and eliminates graft and corruption.
But I guess, in some areas...
And to get to the Central African Republic and El Salvador, both those countries were dirt poor, and they had leaders who said, I'm going to see what I can do. Now, the timing was bad because El Salvador's president came in when Bitcoin was at 42,000. It's come back down. It's about 20-something thousand now. If he had come in at 20,000 and watched it rise from here, he'd be an absolute hero. He would have paid back the IMF. He would have been, his country would be all in crypto. Turns out, though, his country has benefited in a big way. They are about 5 years ahead of almost any other country on the planet in the use of Bitcoin, smart contracts, and NFTs. They have somehow leapfrogged the rest of the world in that way. They're still a very, very poor country, but if you project out 20, 30, 40 years, they might be one of the they might be one of the stars. They may be the equivalent of what Singapore was when they were dirt poor, and they had Lee Kuan Yew come in and build trust in that country.
Because I suppose in many ways it doesn't matter how available the Bitcoin is if only 60% or 20% of your people have access to a mobile phone on which you can use that technology, then you're not going to get the uptake.
Oh, but Bitcoin's very available. Anyone with a smartphone or even a ledger can move Bitcoin around. There are already 100 million, 200 million users of Bitcoin. Yeah. Not enough women, by the way. No. There are only 1 in 6 Bitcoin wallets held by a woman. And women control about 80% of retail spending. So once women make that transition, it's going to be quite extraordinary for Bitcoin.
That's interesting. Tim, we haven't got a long time left, and obviously what a lot of people want to know is what are you investing in now? Particularly, what are you thinking about investing in the next few years? Where do you see the next unicorns? We've just had a fantastic display talking about unicorns. What are you concentrating on?
Well, I look for things where new technology changes everything. And that was the internet way back when. It was media, communications, entertainment. They all changed because of the internet. Well, Bitcoin is transforming banking, insurance, finance, commerce, government. And those are huge industries. But I actually think we've got another one, and that's ChatGPT. And I'm sorry I didn't invest in that one, but it is extraordinary, and it really is starting to change industry after industry after industry. I could see running an entire government bureaucracy with ChatGPT. I could see running an entire law firm with ChatGPT. I could see media being driven by, so, you know, keep your eyes on your own job.
Yeah, exactly.
And venture capital. I'm looking at venture capital, new forms, new ways of looking at venture capital to automate some of the relationships, some of the communications that we have with entrepreneurs.
And obviously overnight we've had the news that Google is launching its own chatbot. I think it's called Bard. So we've had some competition just overnight. What difference will that make?
Well, God, Google was late. I mean, they were the first ones to invent the self-driving car, and then they never announced it.
Didn't you crash one?
What's that?
Didn't you get to drive one of them once?
No, no, that was a Cruise automation. That was Cruise. And Cruise took me on a left-hand turn right into traffic. But I bet on it because I thought, yeah, the software is not perfect yet, but boy, this is pretty interesting. It could be really great. So, you know, the big companies have to get involved. They have to compete. But I think Microsoft was very bright in jumping on early and grabbing the winner.
So you're excited about AI.
And there's a network effect to a general AI product. The bigger, the better, the more information, the more people being involved in it, more people asking questions, the broader it becomes, and it gets harder for people to catch up.
And just before we came on stage, you were accosted in a very friendly way, I must hasten to add, by somebody who I think is part of your university. Tell us about Draper University.
Oh, Draper University of Heroes is so much fun. We've had 120 people come from Saudi to Draper University, and they've really turned entrepreneur. We have it's a 5-week program and then 5 weeks of go or internship or whatever. Go build your business, and we kind of tweak people's brains to start thinking, just go out and try things. Don't worry about failing. You know, do whatever you can. And I asked her what her. We have a pledge, and there are a lot of lines of the pledge. One is, I will fail and fail again until I succeed. But hers was, I will promote freedom at all cost, because she said, because I'm a Saudi woman. So all of a sudden, all these Saudi women are promoting freedom at all costs because we put that into their head that it was kind of an important thing to do. And they have, our graduates from Draper University's program have really been extraordinary. I looked through the list. Probably half of them are running startups. One works for PIF, one works for a bank here, one works for... They are movers and shakers now. And so I do believe that Draper University can have a big effect on people who have any kind of passion for what they want to do with their lives.
And is there one pitch that you're still waiting to hear? Is there one pitch that you think someday somebody is going to come up to me and give me that dream pitch that I've been waiting for my whole career?
Well, a lot of things are going through my head with that question. One is, yeah, I'd like to do teleportation, and I'd love for somebody to figure out how I can teleport from one place to another. I guess Zoom can do that. Skype could do that. But
and weren't you an early investor in Skype?
I was an early investor in Skype, first investor in Skype. And so that's one thing, but I mean, entrepreneurs solve the big problems of the earth, and I think weather, whether you call it climate change or whatever, that's going to be a big one. Some creative mind out there is going to put up an umbrella outside of our atmosphere during noontime so that it's a little cooler during noon, and then it'll just move around the earth. Who knows what it is, but something's going to make it a little cooler here, or hotter, depending. I mean, I think we'll be able to moderate.
So weather manipulation.
Weather manipulation. I think there are major opportunities in AI, and as my son Adam says, AI is going to take all our jobs, and what that really means is everybody's job is going to be enhanced by AI. It's going to be better. And so I'm really looking forward to, short term, all the interesting applications for AI. And I think that's going to be really exciting.
Well, we are out of time, but Tim Draper, thank you so much. We barely scratched the surface of your career, but really interesting. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Tim a show of your appreciation.
My pleasure. And one thing I've got to say is I don't know if the Saudi people are I think they possibly are the nicest people on the planet. My partner and I got lost looking for a farm restaurant way out there in the middle of nowhere. And we just walked into somebody's home, and we were just kind of, we thought, well, maybe this is it. There are a few cars here. And they said, come, welcome, have coffee, have dates. And then they said, sit. And I'm thinking, what? We're lost. But they were so delightful, and we got to know them. And so thank you, Saudi, for making me feel so comfortable, particularly since I've been traveling around the world for now 4 or 5 weeks. 5 weeks. And haven't been home. I'm feeling home here. Thank you.
A digital nomad's found his home. Thank you, everybody.